Gorilla Geek going 10.8. Sorry about the noise, but I can't help it. I got a bunch of equipment here running, so I hope you guys can listen to me okay. So this video is not for the individual prepper or self-reliance guy or whatever. So it's mainly for bigger organizations. And I've seen a trend or experience a really bad time with so the federal government doled out $1.7 something billion to the state of California for them to get their shit together as far as communications, mainly to implement interoperability. And what interoperability is to have all the first responders, state, county, city, town, agencies talking on the same page as far as communications. And that's pretty much a daunting task to do, and they make it seem really complicated, but it doesn't need to be. So in a nutshell, what you have here is, for example, the ambulance service, EMS, they usually run 400 megahertz. Sheriffs, fish and game, the fire, they usually run high band, which is 150 megahertz radios. And then you have the cities and possibly some sheriff department or some other law enforcement or first responder run 800 megahertz. So they're all on all these different radio systems that are not compatible to each other. So that is the big problem that we have nationwide. And so the whole plan is to get those people talking to each other when the shit really hits the fan and they need to respond. So what we have here is a system to link all those radios together to talk on one command channel. So I've been invited by my local county here, one of the counties, to join in their technology subcommittee to somewhat come up with a plan to get this problem solved. And in the beginning, 3 years ago when we first started, the major city that was in charge of doling out the money, they hired a consulting firm to come in and kind of take a look at all these counties. It's like 7 counties together in this one central planning area, which what they call it, what they call this kind of group to get all our counties talking on the same page, so to speak. So this consulting group came by, inventoried all our stuff, visited all the sites, listened to all our complaints, all our wishes and what we want to accomplish, and took pictures, you name it. They took all this data and took it with them to come up with a solution. Well, let me tell you, they came back with this half-ass, well, it wasn't half-ass, it was way too complicated of a system that didn't provide 1/3 of the capabilities that the system here is giving us now. They pretty much took a cookie cutter plan that they had that they placed somewhere else, thinking that it was going to work in our area. But they're not locals. They don't know how we do business and how the first responder respond to incidents and stuff like that. They don't know. I mean, we gave them all the information, they couldn't figure it out. And one thing that they do tout is that they have all these people in their consulting firm that have 30 plus years in the Forest Service doing communications. One's a volunteer, this, that, a whole lot of shit, a whole lot of talk without really demonstrating or it was just a really bad taste in our mouths when they came and proposed this big elaborate simulcast system that, like I said, didn't provide 1/3 of the people out there. They pretty much cut 1/3 of the first responders from having interoperability, and they gave us a bullshit patch to kind of sort of get them in play. So we pretty much, a few of us got together and pretty much told them to pack sand. We're going to do the project or the concept and just have them do the legwork of the gear and putting it all together, but they're going to follow our plan. So I'm a big advocate of keep it simple, stupid. This doesn't have to go overboard, because if you do go overboard, what you're going to have is this big old complicated system with single point of failures that if one part of the system goes down, you take out the whole network, and what you'll have is chaos all over again. So what, the three common denominators of first responders, what they use out in the field is 150 megahertz high band, 400 megahertz, 450 megahertz for EMS and other agencies. Then you have 800 megahertz, 700 and 800 megahertz, which a lot of the towns and PDs are using. So this pretty much covers the whole spectrum of first responders. 150, 450, 700, 800. And everybody that's running 700 have these gear that could do both 700 and 800. So how can I get 800 to talk to 150 and 150 to talk to 450 and back and forth with each other when something happens? What you'll have is a tri-band repeater. So you have one repeater, actually three repeaters, interlinked with each other to cross band with each other. So if one guy comes in on VHF, it's going to go out UHF and 800, and it's going to repeat on VHF as well. So VHF, my fire department is going to talk to the PD. The PD is going to talk to EMS and medical. So all these guys on one command channel, a virtual command channel, could talk to each other and get the latest scoop of what's going on in a particular shit hit the fan scenario. So physically in our county, we have a mountain ridge on the west side, and then we have a mountain ridge over on the east side with the valley in between. So one mountain could actually cover the whole county. Let's say the square here is the whole county. So what we did was we have two systems that are mirrored, but they have different frequencies. So VHF has one pair, UHF has another pair, and 800 has another pair. And then across the valley, there's the mirror image of the system with VHF on another frequency pair, so they won't interfere with each other. They'll have separate but equal, I guess. UHF would have a different repeater channel, and the 800 would have a repeater channel. So what we did was we linked the east side with the west side with this device called the Raytheon ACU 2000 or 1000 of the earlier model. This box here would have two UHF control stations that would link a west side tri-bander to an east side tri-bander. And what that would do would have one massive county-wide command channel. So if shit hits the fan, all you have to do is just turn the channel on your radio to either one of those two sides, either the east side or the west side. So if some cop here talks to the west side repeater on VHF, is going to go out UHF 800, and then it's going to link across the valley and come out these radios as well, VHF, UHF, and 800 for the east side of the county. So he could have a portable, just a plain old handheld, which have low power, but if he could reach the west side or the east side, he's got total county-wide communications. And what's good about it too is you could go inside buildings. Let's say if there's a big old building with chemical agents or something like that, you don't have to worry about too much about the range being cut off because you go into a cinder block building or whatnot. That's including the UHF and 800. And there's a system all in one rack. Here on top we have 800 megahertz radio, a Motorola Quantar running an 800 megahertz repeater on one frequency. Here we have UHF Quantar Motorola. And right below it, there's a 150 megahertz high band repeater. There's the backup batteries to run the system. And the device that's linking all three of these repeaters together is this really inexpensive as far as government gear or you know, gear that goes up on mountaintops. This RLC Link Communications repeater controller system is linking all three of these repeaters together. That thing there costs possibly $700 and is so flexible. You can make that thing literally sing Dixie or whistle Dixie if you could program it in there. I'm not going to do that, but you could if you wanted to. So that there is, if programmed right, is linking all these guys together. 3 basic repeaters interface with that linking device up there, and you have that capability of having interoperability. So if it's a big enough incident where the federal guys come in, or the state guys, or the army, the Navy, whoever, they could all they got to do is just program their individual radios to either one of those frequencies on the east and west side, and have interoperability with the command channel and with everybody else on the ground, from the lowest guy, the lowest firefighter on an engine, to the incident commander way on top. They all have the ability to have command communications. Here's the back plane of all those radios, and here's the interconnect port of one of the radios here. And here this yellow radio goes up to our RLC link here, and you have 3 ports here. And I got 2 more ports there to sort of add 2 more radios if we wanted to, or the microwave coming in, or telephone, whatever. And that's pretty much it. Nice and simple. Keep it simple, stupid. That's the name of the game, especially with a complex interoperability. Man, I can't say that word. So pretty much all this will cost an agency or a command structure or whatever, or a group. All this would cost them roughly $90,000. Now for the individual preppers or whatever, yeah, that's a lot of money, but for a county or whatever, that's pretty much a drop in the bucket. Instant interoperability on a mountaintop, countywide communications for $100,000 and $120,000 is a bargain. And the one thing is it's a really good safety implementation of communications to have everybody talking on the same page when some sort of shit hit the fan. Now you can replace these Motorola's. My first recommendation was to use Daniels. And this is a Daniels radio here, and the Daniels actually cost almost half the price of a Motorola radio, and they are rugged. This thing is bulletproof. It's a simple radio. It doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles. It just has the basic things that you need for a repeater, but they, you know, somebody got their paws in there and recommended Motorola, and they went with the Motorola's for whatever reason. Nothing wrong with it, but I think that it's, you know, a little bit overkill, or they didn't need to go that high, especially when tax dollars are in play. Now, let me tell you about the consulting group. Their plan, if these guys ever bid on it, would have cost $2.7 million to build and engineer and put together and install. Where this system here is no more than $150,000. That's why these consulting groups that's coming in, I truly believe they do not have your well-being in mind. All they want to do is suck up that grant money that comes from the feds and spend all the money that they could, spend as much of that grant money, use it all up as much as they can, and on top of that have bragging rights to say, hey, we went into county X and we built their interoperability system and it's doing so good, where in fact it was just this overpriced fleecing of local governments to build this big elaborate system that has multiple points of failures. And that's one thing you want to avoid in emergency communications of this magnitude, where all the first responders have to respond. We cannot have a single point of failure. This system here is self-contained. There's no external control other than another radio possibly coming over the air. It's over the air. There's no wires to kind of cut, or another piece of equipment that's critical for the whole system to work, where the system that these consultants wanted to use had multiple points of failure. I mean, one little mudslide or flooding in the valley could have taken down the whole system, where this here is self-contained. This place would have to take a direct lightning strike to take this out. And if that happens, let's say we're on the east side. If this side was ever taken out, we got the west side to take over. So we're still good. And their system, the consultant system, didn't have any flexibility. I mean, in an incident, you have to kind of react to the particular situation and adapt to whatever changes. Where here you have sort of good adaptability, where we could sever the linking between the east side and the west side and have two independent command channels running at the same time, depending on the incident. So let's say we have a major forest fire here, and we have both systems coming up, which initially it's all up and running and linked together. So whenever the incident commander comes on board and say, okay, we got this incident here, but then we have a hostage rescue incident here with casualties, we could say, okay, split the system. The west side tribander will take this incident here, and the east side tribander will take care of this incident over here. So we have that flexibility to sort of cut the system if we needed to. And on top of that, if they really wanted to get slick, let's say this city PD, their radio system went down, we could individually take the UHF radio out of this system here and dedicate it to them alone until they get their system up, or as a backup. That kind of concept is too over the heads of the local guys here. They really don't want to go that way, but it's there if they want it, if they need it. Believe me, this may look like a lot, but this is bare bones, keep it simple, stupid type of stuff here. 3 repeaters in different bands linked together on top of a mountaintop, countywide interoperability communications for all first responders, from the federal guys in FEMA camps on up, all the way down to an orderly in a triage somewhere in the valley or whatever. So here we go, demo time, and I love my demos. So this is the back side, the countryside of the mountain there, the backwoods there. And then I'm pointing west here, and the valley is on the west side here. And the antenna for that system is in one of these towers here. So here I have my 3 disciplines. There's EMS, medical, some cities, some towns, PD or whatever. 800, 700 megahertz, PDs, towns, what you call it, whatever. Sheriff's Department. And there's 150, fire, PD, Sheriff's Department, National Guard, you name it. And currently, before 9/11, or here in this area before 4 years ago, these guys couldn't talk to each other at all. So something goes on, they're going to have to either share radios or do some other things. But now EMS is going to call somebody. Test 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 400 is going to talk to 150. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now my fire guy here, my firefighter, is going to talk on the command channel here to all these other guys. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it's coming out on both radios here. VHF. Here's 800. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 700, 800. So fire's on the command channel. Here's 700, 800. It's a little bit too loud. Get feedback here. Test 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So there you have it. Basic radio interoperability between the first responders of different radio systems and frequencies. This solution here, there's only two ways of doing it. This way, or get every swinging agency out there to dump their current radio systems and buy a radio that everybody else is going to buy of the same make and model, or at least the same frequency. And that could run into the multiple of billions of dollars. I mean, it's just astronomical. But this solution here for $150,000 for a municipality or county area or large task force area, it's pennies on a dollar to get this type of interoperability using the existing system that you have running in your vehicles or on your person. Those radios that you have in your vehicles or on you, you're already familiar with. There's no retraining. All you have to do is just flip the channels to either one of the two channels, east side or west side, in our particular demonstration here. Cost savings to all these agencies, and most importantly to the taxpayer, is this thing will pay for itself in a year, especially if we get a big incident around here that it comes into use, and for chases, you know, high-speed car chases, hazmat, you name the incident where multiple disciplines have to communicate with each other. They have instant, on-demand interoperability when they need it. Yeah, this has been a big rant on my part, because now that we have our system here up and running and working flawlessly, I could pretty much thumb my nose at these consultants, outsiders that came in here and start wanting to sell us something that we don't need, too complicated. The maintenance on it's a nightmare. I mean, I'm sure it's proven in some other areas, but for our particular area around here, it won't do. I mean, it was just too much. Like I said, they just wanted to fleece as much of that grant money as much as they can. We have such a savings on our system that we were able to get some extra gear and some dispatch centers and build up some other much needed projects and whatnot. So that was pretty good, and I'm glad I had somewhat of a hand on it, or at least got up and call bullshit when I seen it, when these guys started toting their shit. Excuse for the profanity and stuff like that, but it really pisses me off when we get these bigwigs come in and to tell us how to run our business, for a buck, pretty much. So for all you agencies out there that might be looking at this video, or municipalities or whatever, don't be afraid to call bullshit on on stuff, and ask for a second opinion or so forth, because sometimes most of the times they're not looking for your best interest. I know Motorola, the company, and some other companies out there had their meat hooks all over our meetings and stuff to see if they could get an edge or something going on so they could sell us something. But we stuck to our guns and say, hey, this is the concept. Let's build it. We're going to use this, that, and the other. Boom, we're done. Way below budget. So, all right. I may make more of this kind of videos that will appeal to bigger agencies that are in the business of preparedness. Because, hey, government is purpose too. Gorilla Geek going 10-10.
Police and thieves.